WSUM Sports Toss the Mic bonus podcast. We got a great one for you today. We are ranking every wide receiver one's 2024 season, and we're going to put them on a tier list for you watching the video. It's going to be pretty easy for you to follow. I have 6 tiers, but if you're on the audio version, I'm going to read it off to you. I'm going to guide you the best I can, and without further ado, let's dive on in. I got 6 tiers for you. Otherworldly, there are wide receivers like Randy Moss out there. There's the Jerry Rices of the world, and I guarantee you there's still those receivers in the NFL right now, so that is what that tier's for. We got purebred wide receiver one. Everybody would be happy to have them on their team, a purebred wide receiver one. There's going to be a lot on this list. The I'd be okay with it for a season could turn into a dog tier. That is quite long, but I think you'd find that it fits very well with young guys and older guys that really haven't hit their peak yet. So we'll see that coming here in a little bit as well. And the serviceable tier, you'd be okay with them starting a couple games for an injured wide receiver one. You're like, okay, I'm okay with it. I'm not losing sleep over having this guy start over blank. So yeah, we can have that tier. And then there's the bad, and then there's the horrible tier. And just saying this right off the bat, the opinions expressed on this video podcast and audio podcast do not reflect the views of WSUM, UW-Madison, and its Board of Regents. So without further ado, let's dive on into this guy's opinion on the tier list of wide receiver one, starting off with Davante Adams, wide receiver 1 or 2 for the Los Angeles Rams. I'll let you guys discuss that in the comments, but he is still a purebred wide receiver one, believe it or not, even with Puka Nacua on your team. If you watched him with the Jets, if you watched his tape, he is still as explosive with his route running. He still is mossing people. And I think the only thing that's keeping him from being an otherworldly guy is that he hasn't been able to showcase his true abilities yet. I guarantee if he doesn't get hurt, he'll have a 1,300-yard, 12 touchdown season, knock on wood. So I got to put him in the purebred wide receiver one tier. And now it gets a little tough because the next guy right here is the Chiefs' supposed wide receiver one for now, Rashee Rice. He was injured all of last year because, believe it or not, Patrick Mahomes ran into his knees. So it's not really his fault that his ACL was torn in half because of a certain Vices helmet hitting it. So I'm going to put Rashee Rice in the I'd be okay with it for a season to see what he could do. He could be a dog. He's young, so we can see what he can do. And then Jamar Chase, wide receiver one for the Bengals. This one is pretty easy. He is otherworldly. He just got paid the most money of any non-quarterback out there. He passed Myles Garrett. They extended him and T. Higgins, who is arguably a wide receiver one in his own right. The fact that he is miles ahead of T. Higgins just shows how good Jamar Chase is. He's one of the favorites to win MVP one of these years. He's won Offensive Player of the Year a couple times now, so he's definitely on the watch to be an otherworldly threat in the future. Next up, we got Josh Palmer for some reason. I have no idea why he's here. He's not horrible. He's just bad. I'd be okay with throwing him out there as my wide receiver 2 or 3, but why is he on the wide receiver 1 tier list? I have no idea. But Josh Palmer, he's with the Buffalo Bills, I believe now. He's definitely not their wide receiver 1. I'd rather have Keon Coleman all day. But moving on, we got George Pickens. I wouldn't call him serviceable. I'd be okay with it for a season, and then he'd probably melt down and trade everyone in the organization like LeBron. But, George Pickens is still a talent. He is great. He might be a little bit of a liability for a personal foul, but the guy is an absolute machine at receiver. He could catch any fade ball out there. He can moss anybody. He could probably block for you too. Throwing DBs out there. I don't hate his game at all, but there's a chance that he might get suspended or asked to be traded midseason. So I would love to have him as my wide receiver 1 for one season. Moving on here, we got Amari Cooper. He is bad right now. When he was traded to the Bills, he did absolutely nothing. It wouldn't shock me if he didn't even have 100 yards. He had a couple touchdowns with the Bills, but the Browns absolutely fleeced the Bills. Browns and fleece. Usually you say it the other way around, but the Browns got a 3rd-round pick out of Amari Cooper and his disastrous end-of-season play. He started off okay with the Browns to start off the year, but it was an absolute catastrophic fall-off. He will not be returning to the Bills. Knock on wood. He's probably not returning to the Bills. But Zay Flowers is next up. I don't think he's really had his chance to show off all of his abilities. I mean, that just comes with playing with Lamar. He's not exactly the one that's going to feed you the ball all the time. He's probably going to dump it off to his tight ends, run it a little more often. But Zay Flowers, when he does touch the ball, he is kind of a monster with it. So I'll put him in serviceable for now. And he's borderline, I'd be okay with it for a season. Could be a dog tier. But for now, he is going in the serviceable tier. Moving on, we got Calvin Ridley. He's bad. He's not horrible. I'd be okay with him being my wide receiver too, but he is old. He had that gambling season where he was suspended for a whole year. He was already old in his own right. I'm pretty sure he's as old as Amari Cooper, and he got in the league like 4 years after him. So Calvin Ridley, he can be a journeyman nowadays, but he is not a wide receiver one. Moving on, we got Stephon Diggs. What's wide receiver one for the Patriots? Seems like that is undisputed right now, unless they take Ted McMillan, and Stephon Diggs is for sure, and I'd be okay with it for a season. It's because he's a vet. I don't know how much longer he has in this league. It's not really, I'm not going to say that he's a diva, but he is a guy that strikes me as he has other interests other than football. He could be a diva. He has his moments of being I'm going to put my head down and work, or he's the guy who his teammates don't want to date his sister. Yeah, if you get that reference, you're an absolute dog. If you remember that from the Stephen Weatherly show from the Vikings YouTube channel back in the day. But, yeah, I got to put him in the I'd be okay with it for a season. He's going to get a lot of targets from Drake May. Drake May, he's going to have a breakout season next year, so I can't wait to see what Stephon Diggs does with the New England Patriots. Moving on, we got Michael Pittman. He's mid. I'm not going to lie. But I'm going to put him in the I'd be okay with it for a season because he's still young, believe it or not. He got a second contract, so he's good enough for that. And I'm not sure he's going to be a superstar. He's going to be winning awards and stuff like that, but he's definitely a good bridge. He's definitely a good bridge. I like Michael Pittman. I love his YouTube videos. I watched his vlogs. Shout out his vlogs. He has a couple daughters now, I'm pretty sure. And he had a nice farm, so I liked watching his videos back in the day. Next up, we got Christian Kirk. Christian Kirk is not a wide receiver one. He's a great wide receiver two. He is the definition of a wide receiver two, so I'm going to put him in serviceable. I don't know, man. I kind of want to put him in bad. I changed my mind because we're kind of ranking here based on how good they are as a wide receiver one. Please don't take this as me calling Christian Kirk bad, but he would be a bad wide receiver one. Don't shoot the messenger here, but he is going in the bad tier. Moving on here, we got Curtis Samuel. He is not a wide receiver one. I have no idea why he's on this list. So he's going to go in a bad wide receiver one spot as well. Pretty much the same deal with Kendrick Bourne. He's not a wide receiver one. He was just the guy that had to fill the spot with the Patriots when the Patriots were an absolutely gutted roster. They've been gutted since Cam Newton fell off a cliff. When he started off hot in the first couple weeks, they started off 3-0 back in the day, but they didn't have any receivers to throw to. Once they found out Cam Newton couldn't throw farther than 20 yards and the receivers couldn't run a route longer than 20 yards, they just keyed in on that. So Kendrick Bourne, he's not exactly a difference maker, and he's definitely not going to be starting over Stephon Diggs anytime soon. Garrett Wilson, purebred wide receiver one. He's past the tier of I'd be okay with it for a season. He's dominated with bad quarterback play, and I don't know if you'd consider last year with Aaron Rodgers bad quarterback play, but it was definitely dysfunctional to say the least. And he's produced in any situation, and he's up there with his buddy Davante Adams in the purebred wide receiver one tier. Only two receivers are in that tier right now, Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson. So moving on, we got Cortland Sutton. I'd be okay with him being my wide receiver one for a season. He's getting up there in age, though, so I wouldn't exactly invest in him long term. The Broncos got a dog with him. Him and Bo Nix will be a great duo for years to come, but who knows? The Broncos could easily find someone to jump him in the depth chart, and he could be a good wide receiver too for even more years to come. So I'd just be okay with it for a season. I wouldn't want him to be my sole wide receiver one for the next 5 years. Tyreek Hill, I'll put him in otherworldly, purebred wide receiver one. He's definitely on the decline, and he's going to retire in a year. I would put him in the otherworldly if it was last season or the year before, because, I mean, he's been cooking the years prior with Tua putting up 1,700 yards and a dozen touchdowns. So right now, purebred wide receiver one, he's asking for a trade. He had some injury issues, and the Dolphins just didn't look good last season. So he's going to be in the purebred wide receiver one tier. Moving on, we got that's not Chris Godwin. We got Deebo Samuel. He is not a wide receiver one anymore. I'd even put him in horrible. He ended off last season terribly. He's looking like he's getting a little overweight. They traded him for a 5th-round pick. And you know what? I changed my mind. He's just going to go in bad because there are guys that are definitely worse than him in the bad tier. So I want to be consistent here. Deebo Samuel goes in the bad tier. Cooper Kupp, he's not a wide receiver one anymore, I don't believe, with the Seahawks because Jackson Smith and Jigba exists. But he's definitely, and I'd be okay with it for a season just because he's probably going to retire soon. But he's still Cooper Kupp. He is the guy that has been dominant for years past. He had the Triple Crown not too long ago, so I'd definitely be okay with having one season, a bridge year, of him being my wide receiver one. DK Metcalf, purebred wide receiver one. That's probably going to be debated in the comments. Make sure to comment down below what you think of this list. But nonetheless, he's definitely still a purebred wide receiver one. If you throw him up a fade ball, he's like a George Pickens. I'd say he's a little less of a diva. And the Steelers definitely have some issues to figure out here about distributing the ball here, because he's kind of the same wide receiver as Pickens, and they're on the same team. So maybe they're just going to throw a bunch of deep balls and not run any routes over the middle. So who knows what comes out of the DK Metcalf and George Pickens sweepstakes here. But I think Metcalf is definitely a better wide receiver than George Pickens is. Marvin Harrison Jr., I'd say I'd be okay with it for a season just based off his pure potential. He only has 1 year in the league. He was a generational prospect coming into the league, so I definitely take a shot of having him as my wide receiver one. I just can't put him as purebred wide receiver one yet because he hasn't produced at that level yet in the NFL, given he's only been in the league for a year. So once we see that, he's definitely has a shot of being with his buddy Garrett Wilson up in the wide receiver one tier. Moving on here, we got Drake London. He's a purebred wide receiver one. If you haven't been watching the Falcons, make sure to watch the Falcons. Him and Penix are going to be cooking soon. He's been dominating. He's been an absolute specimen on the field. He's like a young Mike Evans out there. And speaking of Mike Evans, we got Mike Evans next up on the tier list. He's definitely a purebred wide receiver one as well. He's shown no signs of slowing down here. He has never gone below 1,000 yards on a year. He almost missed that mark this season. He caught it on the last play of the year, I'm pretty sure. So definitely he's going to probably be regressing soon, but for now, he's still a purebred wide receiver one. He has shown no signs of regression in terms of long-term ability, I'd say. And then next up, we got our first horrible player, who I bet you can't guess who this is. It's Deontay Johnson. He was probably projected to be the wide receiver one for the Panthers going into last season, and now he's all the way back into horrible. He was on like 4 teams, so definitely horrible is the best place to put him. He didn't even get a chance to really play with the Ravens or the Texans. So horrible is where he lands. Chris Olave, I'd put him in I'd be okay with it for a season. Could be a dog because, he's had 0 quarterback play. And even when Derek Carr's on the field, he just has a little lunch. He sits down for lunch and then he decides to get injured again. So Chris Olave really hasn't shown his true abilities yet. Jaden Reed, serviceable. He started off the season really hot, and then he went down and dived down a cliff. The Packers don't have a wide receiver one, and it's pretty clear. They just have a bunch of wide receiver twos. And Jaden Reed, I'd love to have you in the slot, but you are not a dominant wide receiver one. He disappeared for so many weeks. Justin Jefferson, otherworldly. We're going to remember Justin Jefferson as a Jerry Rice. We're going to remember him as a Randy Moss. We're going to remember him as guys like that. There are not a lot of guys that can play the sport like Justin Jefferson. Moving on, we got Amon-Ra St. Brown, another otherworldly guy. Debate this in the comments because, putting up 1,500 yards and 15 touchdowns, that is otherworldly. And right now, he's just entering his prime. Imagine the stuff he can do with the Detroit Lions. Maybe Ben Johnson's the one that was causing that, but if you'd like to argue that point, please check out the comments because I guarantee you not a lot of people are going to agree with that. But moving on, DJ Moore, he's definitely a purebred wide receiver one, putting up 1,300 yards and 13 touchdowns with Justin Fields. You can't beat that. He hasn't had a quarterback yet in his career. Caleb Williams, you could argue that he is, but even then, he was a rookie last year. So maybe the Chicago Bears can find him they're not going to find a better quarterback, but maybe they can have some better quarterback play from Caleb Williams next year, and we'll see the peak of DJ Moore. Moving on, Malik Neighbors, he is borderline otherworldly, but he's with the Giants, so we haven't been able to see the full extent of his abilities. He put up purebred wide receiver one stats in his first season. Marvin Harrison Jr., we could look at him as being equal to him next year, but right now, Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr., and Marvin Harrison Jr. in terms of rookie production and where they're going in their career right now. So right now, Malik Neighbors is an absolute dog, and imagine him with Russell Wilson throwing him moon balls or with Jameis Winston just throwing him nukes because he's just throwing blind nukes out there. Post-LASIK, he's still just chucking the ball downfield. He's making friends with crabs. Moving on, we got CeeDee Lamb. Last year, I probably would have said otherworldly, but I'm thinking I'm going to put him in purebred wide receiver one. He didn't wow me last year. He's borderline otherworldly. I really want to put him in otherworldly, and you know what? I think I will. I changed my mind. I'm putting him in otherworldly. I can change my mind. I make the rules here. So CeeDee Lamb has been absolutely dominant in the past years. This year, he was a little bit down with a little bit of injury issues. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he did have a dip in production. I don't know if that was whether due to injuries or if that was due to Dak Prescott and his injury with Cooper Rush. So I'm not going to penalize him. I was going to, but it's borderline iffy. So I'm going to put him in otherworldly for now. A.J. Brown. Otherworldly. I mean, he won a Super Bowl with Jalen Hurts and Devonta Smith, and he didn't see any dips in production. So he had a little bit of a diva spurt with asking for the ball, but it turned out to be nothing. So he earns that otherworldly spot. And another purebred wide receiver one here. It's Terry McLaurin from the Commanders. They went to the NFC Championship this past year. He absolutely shined with JD5, Jaden Daniels. What do you know? When you give Terry McLaurin a quarterback, good things happen. So this is the final tier list. Otherworldly, purebred wide receiver one. I'd be okay with it for a season, / could be a dog. Serviceable, bad, and horrible. What do you think of what's here? Comment down below, or if you're on the audio version, make sure to click the link in the description to check out the video so you can take a look at this list, all in all, and leave your comment down below on the video. But with that being said, that is going to do it for the Toss the Mic Sportscast bonus edition on the YouTube channel. 570 of you guys have subscribed. We'd love to hit 600 subscribers on the YouTube channel, so if you could quickly just hit that subscribe button, that would be awesome. And don't forget to download the WSUM exclusive Toss the Mic Sportscast. We're growing. We had 110 downloads this month. So far going on, we're only on 4/20/2025 as I'm recording this. So get us to 200 downloads. That would be amazing. And don't forget about the WSUM app as well to listen to anything on demand, because you can hit that notification button on any podcast that you think is your favorite. So with that being said, that is going to do it. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.